All right, what's good, everyone? We are starting on time. Let's get this going. Whoop. Beams in my eyes. All right. Scout Team Sports, I am your host, Devalian. Welcome in once again for another week. We are live and we are kicking it off, starting off with college football. Again, I am your host, Devalian with Scout Team Sports. And before we get started, I should say shout out to all of my subscribers. I appreciate each and every one of you. Shout out to those who are watching and listening. Even if you're not subscribed, I still appreciate you for clicking on this video. Whether you're doing it during the live stream or afterward, I do greatly appreciate you. If you wouldn't mind, go ahead and hit that subscribe button as we continue to grow this channel, become our own sports network, possibly, to just kind of do our own thing and be in the sports world, have our own little niche here. But we are getting started. We are already getting underway. It's already underway, rather. Probably the game of the week, the Red River Shootout. In past years, there have been highs, I would say, and lows in terms of the rivalry, of course, between OU fans and Texas fans. It's always a big thing, but nationally, there are years where it is more broadcast and more of a big deal, and other years it's not. This one is a big deal for several reasons. One being is that this is their last, both teams' last year in the Big 12, so both are jumping ship and leaving and going to the SEC. And then after that, on top of that, both teams are undefeated. So not only is it a rivalry game, and both teams are ranked in the top 25, Oklahoma being 12, Texas being 3, but then there's one is going to hand the other their first loss of the season, possibly knock them far down the top 25, while the other one will be that much closer to securing their spot in the college football playoff, and the other one having to play catch up. But yeah, I mean, for Oklahoma, if they were to beat as a 12th ranked to be the 3rd ranked, that's pretty big. Texas, they beat a 12th ranked. That should solidify them moving forward. Don't see anything else in their way as far as getting at least to the Big 12 Conference Championship game, and then catapulting themselves into a firm spot within the college football playoff, I should say. And then, I'll make sure we're good here. And then you get into the actual game. Now, it's already underway for high noon. It already started, so that's 9 a.m. my time on the West Coast. But it is tied at 7 right now. Surprise, OU should have the lead right now, seeing as how Texas has already thrown 2 interceptions. And with them already having 2 interceptions and the fact that the game is still tied 7-7, either there's a deficiency on Oklahoma's side, or it's just Texas is that strong to keep things tight defensively, to where OU hasn't capitalized fully off of both of those turnovers, to where it should at least be a 14-7 lead for Oklahoma right now. And so, yeah, or maybe even worse than that, because of depending on when the turnovers happened. It's hard for me to pick in this one because both teams are really good, and I like it like that when it's hard to pick with Oklahoma and Texas. But obviously their defenses seem to be playing well, getting, just because of how this thing could go, and especially in other years when one team is not nearly as good as the other, but now both teams are good. I would say this is probably going to be in the low 20s. I'm thinking it's a low 20s. I mean, I don't know that it's going to be a shootout in the sense of high scoring, but it could definitely be a shootout in the sense of the lead switching back and forth between Oklahoma and Texas, back and forth. One gets the lead, the other one gets the lead, the other one gets the lead. And maybe that could happen a couple of times to where you get in, I guess, into the high 30s, but I kind of don't see it. I think Both these teams are where they are right now because of a somewhat balanced attack, and not necessarily just all offense or all defense, but they have to have some type of balanced attack to be in this position. And I'm just thinking, Texas having that big win over Alabama earlier in the season, they don't want to lose to Oklahoma, because what does that say about Oklahoma? So then maybe Oklahoma's better than Alabama, and then what if Oklahoma were to face Alabama? But yeah, Texas wants to prove that they're better than not only Alabama, that Alabama wasn't a fluke, but that you want to beat your rival, especially even though you're both leaving the conference and going to the same conference. But once you get to that point, there's going to be so many other things to where this is, always, like I said, always be a rivalry between these two schools. But nationally, I don't know if it'd be that big a deal when these two teams go to the SEC, because there's going to be so many other big games. Like, Texas and Oklahoma are going to have big games like every week, being in the SEC. Like being in the Big 12, the only big game they have is against each other. There's really no other big name school that's been consistently popular, consistently strong, like Oklahoma and Texas have been in the Big 12, minus places that continue to, our teams or schools that continue to leave the conference and now come back to the conference, as we know Utah and Colorado are doing next year. But it's like, okay, well, they're coming back to the Big 12, but then the primary reason is because OU and Texas are leaving, which really speaks volumes and speaks well for Coach Prime in terms of Colorado. Because if Oklahoma and Texas are both out of the Big 12, there's no reason why Coach Prime shouldn't dominate the Big 12 conference. No reason. But we'll get to that game. But again, it's hard to pick, but I don't know. If they continue to make mistakes, like 2 turnovers in the NFL, you're pretty much done, because the other team's going to capitalize unless they just have a stellar defense. But the fact that, like I said, Texas is still in this game with 2 picks this early, and Oklahoma has not fully capitalized. And to me, like I said, 14-7 at least, or should be even worse than that, maybe 17-7 or 21-7. I'm going to pick Texas in this game, because even with the mistakes, if they can still continue to play hard, that's probably their game, and they'll just tough it out with, like I said, a low 20s scoring game. This could go back and forth. Like I said, the lead, one gets a field goal, the other gets a touchdown, and we start flip-flopping with the touchdowns, or possibly into the 30s. It possibly could get into the 30s. But I'm going to pick Texas here because, like I said, if the defense can hold in spite of their quarterback making these mistakes, and they're still tied and they're still playing hard, I don't know if there's some deficiency on Oklahoma's side to where they're like, they can't capitalize off of these mistakes. It's not just enough to cause the other team to make mistakes. You have to capitalize off of their mistakes. If you don't capitalize off of their mistakes, you pretty much just shot yourself in the foot. You shot yourself in the foot. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Texas, but it can go either way. It'd be interesting to see when Oklahoma wins how far they would vault up by beating an undefeated third ranked. And again, the shame, if you will, with one of these two teams giving the other their first loss of the season. I heard even over the radio how it was either a Texas or an OU fan got married on a Red River Shootout day. Got married on the Saturday. It was a Red River Shootout. As soon as the wedding was over, they pulled out TVs at the reception so they could watch the game. Like, it's that big down there. They take it that serious. And now with the update, Oklahoma does now have the lead 10-7 over Texas. So we'll see how that continues to roll. But meanwhile, what we're going to get to. And that is the game between Colorado and Arizona State. Now, I do believe that, not much to talk about here, but I do believe that Colorado will definitely get back into the win column. Coach Prime is going to have those boys ready to go, all as always. And you know, two tough losses, but against two ranked teams. So while I didn't want to see them lose, I'm not surprised that they did. So I'm not disappointed at all. I'm not shocked. I'm not, oh no, does this mean the end? No, no, come on. They're still better than most of the conference. And moving forward, I mean, I was even at the barber shop last week when I went back home for work. I was near home for work, and then I went back on the weekends, got my head shaved, looking spectacular there. And I was hearing some guys talking about, oh, Coach Prime, you know, his job might be in jeopardy. Like, come on now. No, his job is not going to be in jeopardy. Number one, for losing to two ranked teams, even if it was a bad loss to Oregon. But you see how they came back against USC and only lost by a touchdown, even though they gave up a lot of points. Yes, obviously the problem is defense. The biggest problem, not the only problem, but the biggest problem is defense. I would say second is the running game. They don't seem to be able to run the ball effectively. And, you know, numbers can be inflated, especially when teams get blown out or they blow another team out when it comes to their team stats and their averages. But I mean, the rest of the Pac-12 is not going to be easy, but they're winnable. They're winnable. So it's not like you can just count Colorado out of any game moving forward, even with Utah, who's good, even with Oregon State, who's good, who's ranked. You can't count Colorado. You can't just count them out. And then again, to the bigger, broader spectrum of, you know, is his job in jeopardy? Like, come on now. Number one is Prime. He's going to have to do a lot worse than this in order to lose his job, especially when they paid him what they paid him and they gave him what they gave him. Two, like I said, they're going back to the Big 12, and with Texas and Oklahoma leaving, going to the SEC, I really don't see anybody else in the Big 12 who is a consistent, formidable opponent who would be able to compete with Colorado. You got to think about this. This is just the tip of the iceberg for Prime in terms of recruiting and transfers and things like that. Once they see how they are effective and they're on national TV, just think about what that's going to do for his recruiting moving forward. This was just the first year before anybody could see what he could do at the D1 level. Now you see what he's doing is for real, and you can be on TV, you can be televised, you can get good playing time, you can even go both ways, playing on offense and defense if you're that good, like Travis Hunter, and that's a selling point for recruits as well. And you'll go to play in Colorado, and you can be just as recognized, get just as much notoriety, and on your way to the pro level as being at any other school in the country. Colorado is now a big deal. Like, Colorado players will get drafted in good numbers. I won't say mass numbers, but in very good numbers. Colorado players will now get drafted to the NFL and will compete with the numbers that Alabama consistently gets drafted from college to the pros in the NFL draft every year. They'll compete with it will be just as many Colorado players that get drafted. Eventually, there'll be just as many Colorado players that get drafted to the NFL every year as Alabama, as Oregon, as USC, as Texas, as any other Ohio State, Michigan, any other school in the country. Now Colorado is also a major player. So how's a kid going to turn that down? The kids, they've got options now. Plus, with the whole transfer thing, NIL deals you can get on any team. I mean, the sky's the limit now. So it's leveling the playing field, and I know some people don't like it. But you know what? The only thing I don't like about this whole ideal is I wish this would have happened sooner. I wish this would have happened when I was playing. When I was playing, even at community college, and had the opportunity to possibly play at a D1 school. If this was an opportunity for me, I just wish I wish this was done back in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's the only thing I don't like, is that this is just now happening or happened in recent years. But other than that, happy for Coach Prime. Like I said, they will get back on into the win column. later on today against Arizona State. They are at Arizona State. Arizona State is 1-4. Colorado is 3-2. Colorado is better. Colorado averages 34 points a game. Again, we talk about the inflations of blowouts and winning blowouts and losing blowouts, but this one is seems like it's a little more tame, a little more even. Arizona State's only averaging 17 points a game through 4 games. That's terrible, even in college. You can say, oh, they're a defensive team. Well, you still, again, defense doesn't win championships. In most games, it doesn't win either. You have to win with balance. You still have to score the football. You still have to score, get in the end zone, and get a couple field goals. You're not going to win a defense. You're not going to win a shootout every week. You're not going to win a low-scoring defensive battle every week unless you just have the greatest defense in college football history. If you got that, okay. But at 1-4 and average 17.6 points per game, and I'm about to go over the defensive stats, no, that's not Arizona State. That's not who they are. So only averaging 17 points a game is pretty bad. And you throw in the fact that Colorado has a knack for, even though they give up a lot of yards, give up a lot of points, they also cause turnovers. So they're good at causing turnovers. That's the one good thing about their defense is they can cause turnovers. But they got to work on clamping down on the yardage as well as allowing teams to score. But even with that, they'll still get turnovers. So if they got that, and then on top of that, everything, it seems like it's better for them, or at least even on par with Arizona State, then of course I'm picking Colorado to win this game. You go to the passing yards, Colorado's averaging 403 yards per game to Arizona State's 261. Rush yards, Arizona State has the edge, but not by much. They're only averaging 89 yards rushing, while Colorado is averaging 83.2. So I really can't say, oh, that's a clear advantage for Arizona State. Opponents' points per game, Colorado is at 36, but Arizona State is at 28. So you could say, okay, maybe their defense gives up a little bit less. I don't see, as far as these stats on Fox Sports, is if they are actually counting special teams, defensive touchdowns in terms of opponents' points per game in that regard. So we'll have to take that with a little bit of grain of salt as well. Opponents' passing yards, Colorado's giving them 305 to Arizona State's 236. Again, in college football, that's not that big of a gap at all to say that Arizona State has a clear advantage. And then opponents' rushing yards, Colorado's giving up 184. Like I said, their defense needs a lot of work, but only to Arizona State's 135. Here's the thing. Even if you were to hold Shedeur to only 236 yards passing, I'm pretty sure he's going to get it in. Even with the 236 yards passing, he's going to get like at least 3 touchdowns. He can get 3 touchdowns with 236 yards passing. He can do that. And then only 135 yards rushing. Well, Colorado only averages 83 yards rushing per game. So if you allow Colorado to get over 100 yards rushing, they're breaking the game open. They are busting this game in particular. Not any game, but this game in particular. They're busting this game wide open. If Colorado gets over 100 yards rushing, this is going to be a blowout. Because you combine what they don't do as much of in the running game, combined with what they're averaging in the passing game, and you're talking at least, 500 total yards of offense? There's no way that 500 total yards of offense for Colorado doesn't translate into at least 5 touchdowns. So if it's just the passing game, then this might be a little bit tighter. It might be a little bit tighter, but if it's a running game and a passing game, if Colorado can get the running game as well as the passing game going, it's pretty much a done deal. Because Arizona State clearly can't score efficiently. And if they can't score efficiently, eventually their defense is going to be on the field too long. And despite how good they may possibly be, it's not going to be enough to hold Shedeur off. It's not going to be able to hold Shedeur off. And keep them tame. And now they've got another emerging star in their wide receiver, Miller. And now, so Miller's good, and it's just they got different guys stepping up every week. They got different guys stepping up every week, and that just speaks to the coaching of Prime, of what he can do and what he instills in them. Like he knew what he was doing as far as finding these players, assembling a coaching staff, and realizing that, you know, football is football. It sucks not having Travis Hunter there. It sucks with Shiloh going through his injury protocol and what he's dealing with. But if Shiloh's not able to go, they got other guys that can step up. If they were to score, they score 41 points against USC. They score 41 points against Arizona State. It's a blowout. Arizona State is not scoring any close to 41 points in the game. So all of a sudden, then they're going to score. Even as bad as Colorado's defense has been, I don't see Arizona State scoring close to 41 points. And so, yeah, so they're better to me in every aspect, even if the numbers and the averages are about the same, or about, you know, they're in close proximity in terms of the averages for the team stats. I'm going to give that advantage to Colorado because of their coach. So, yeah, definitely picking Colorado to go on the road and beat Arizona State. That kicks off in a couple hours. And we will definitely be at the local spots to go and watch that game and check it out, as well as as soon as I'm done here, leaving so we can go and catch the rest of, let me go get something to eat, and then, you know, catch the rest of the Red River Shootout. But now we go to the pros in the NFL. Once again, this is Scout Team Sports. I am your host, DeValian. I appreciate everybody for watching this live stream, and even if you're catching this afterward, I do appreciate you. Please be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified when we do this. Also, when it comes to the midweek scramble that happens every Wednesday night, that seems to be gaining some steam. So I definitely do appreciate each and every one who watches those YouTube shorts of our midweek scramble. But we're getting into the NFL. On the midweek scramble, I did predict correctly for Thursday night football, which had the Bears against the Commanders. I did pick the Bears to win. I picked the Bears just because it was like a coin toss, because, like I said, both teams are kind of bad. And yeah, Chicago almost had a win against the Broncos. Probably should have won that game against the Broncos. And then Commanders went toe-to-toe with the Eagles and lost in overtime. And so it really was just a coin flip. I was just like, I'm going to pick the Bears. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, if these teams are both on par and they're both struggling and they're both really not that good, neither one has a great defense, neither one has a solid running game, if it comes down to the quarterbacks, I would take Justin Fields over Sam Howell. That was my reasoning. So I picked it and picked it right. Didn't think that they would win by that much, 40-20. Definitely didn't think that that would happen. But nonetheless, the Bears get their first win in almost a calendar year, their first win on the road against the Washington Commanders. I like Ron Rivera as a coach, but I'm still sore at him for not pulling Cam Newton into the fold to be the quarterback. Even with the time off that Cam Newton has had since he last played, Cam Newton is still better than any quarterback that the Washington Commanders have had since Ron Rivera has been the head coach. Cam Newton, even now, even if he's rusty, is a better quarterback, even a better leader, whatever you want to say about his leadership skills. A better quarterback, a better leader than any quarterback that Ron Rivera has had since Ron Rivera has been coaching the Washington Commanders. Cam Newton's better than all of those quarterbacks combined. But yet you want to publicly say you have no interest in bringing him in. I'm like, okay, maybe they got something going on to where they had a deal. Maybe him and Dan Snyder had a deal where you can be bad for a couple of years and then, you know, we'll get things together and hopefully we'll get one of these hot young top quarterback out of the draft and out of the next draft. Maybe they're going after Caleb Williams or whatever. But there's new management in town now. So I don't think that leash has to change. Magic and his boys, they ain't standing for that. He's like, I want to win. He wants to win. Magic wants for the smiles that he puts off and people think that, oh, it's just Magic. He's just so easygoing because he's always smiling and happy. Magic is a competitor at heart. I saw him in a serious moment, like he wants to win. He said, I want to win. That's why we decided to get ownership, go after ownership of the Washington Commanders. We didn't do this just so he can make more money. He doesn't need to own the Washington Commanders. I mean, he already owns something in every other sport. He already has a stake in every other sport, a franchise in every other sport. He doesn't need the Commanders. He doesn't need the money. He wants to be successful. He chases greatness. He chases excellence, even though he's not playing in his own sport anymore. So I don't know that Ron Rivera, I'd have brought Cam Newton in this past offseason. Like, what are we doing? Unless you were going to get one of the high draft pick quarterbacks, I'd have called Cam Newton up this past offseason and be like, look, sorry for whatever happened. Can we put it behind us? We need you. You're the best option we got. But these pathetic quarterbacks now, what are you doing? It's like, obviously the Commanders don't care about winning, judging by the coach and judging by, I can't say the new ownership because they just got there, but judging by the coach and the GM and whatnot, they ain't concerned about winning. They're not. Ooh, they started off 2-0. Whoopee. Everybody's eventually going to find out who you are and what you are. Yeah. But yeah, no, Ron Rivera, they don't want to bring in Cam Newton. Okay, fine. All right, moving on. Go to our Sunday games. You've got the London game. Another London game. Here we go. Jaguars at Bills. Bills have really come on strong since that. They're playing really good. Probably one of the best in the league, if not the best. Since that overtime loss the first week against the Jets, which is like, man, the Bills should be 4-0. And that's, to say that is like, okay, well, they had a hiccup there, but they are righting the ship, and they are righting the ship with blowouts so far in every other game. It's in solid wins. Jaguars just don't have enough. They don't have enough. Like I said in my midweek scramble, I am frustrated with all of these Achilles, ACL tears, MCL tears that are taking players out for the season in the event that, and I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but in the event that when they're playing, it's not even like a hard tackle or their leg got sandwiched in between somebody or it got twisted when they went down with a tackle or tackling somebody. They're just running around and they turned a certain way, and then all of a sudden the Achilles is torn. I'm like, what is going on? Nick Chubb, I understand, and it wasn't a dirty hit in my opinion by Minkah Fitzpatrick with him going down for the season. But everybody else with these MCL tears, ACL, Achilles tears done for the season, I'm like, what is going on? I could see if y'all didn't have a full offseason like that one lockout year. That one lockout year, and then, they skipped all the training camp because of the lockout and on most of the preseason, and then all of a sudden they just start playing a regular season. Yeah, they were dropping like flies, and I get it because you don't have those reps in, you don't have that practice in, your body's not ready, you're not ready. So I get it that year, but this year, and especially with the season-ending injuries, so last one, Tre'Davious White, Trayvon Diggs of the Cowboys, Aaron Rodgers, like what is going on? And it's to the star players too. I'm not saying that it's okay if it happens to the non-star players, but just what I'm like, what is going on this early? And then, I don't, whether it happens early or late is it's still bad for any team, but it's almost like they didn't have a preseason. It's almost like, and I get that the stars don't put in as much time in the preseason to preserve their bodies for the regular season, but they at least still are doing training camp. They're still doing OTAs. They're still doing a full offseason, or at least they should be. and getting their bodies ready for the grueling season. Because even if they are ready for it mentally, that physically they got to get their bodies ready, and they know that. But then it's like, okay, and it's normal. It's normal at this point to where they go through OTAs, they go through training camp, and then they play one series each game for preseason, and then or maybe one series each game for preseason, and then up to the fourth game, the last game, they play like a whole quarter or maybe a whole half in order to really get their body ready for the regular season. And then that's it. And then that's usually enough to where you don't see a whole bunch of major injuries like this, season-ending injuries. I'm not talking about getting hurt and they take a week off, to heal a shoulder, like Devontae Adams is doing or something like that. But like these Achilles tears, I'm like, this to me should not be happening. I don't get it. They're not doing anything outside of the norm. I get that Tre'Davious White was coming back from injury and now he gets injured again. But I mean, Aaron Rodgers is fully healthy. Trayvon Diggs is fully healthy before their ACL tears, their Achilles tears that took them out for the season. And man, I'm like, is this it or is there more to come? So that really sucks because then it's like, it's not really who the best team is who ends up winning a championship in years like this. It's just whoever stays the healthiest. Okay, because I guarantee, and I'm not wishing anything on anybody, but if Pat Mahomes were to get an ACL tear, the Chiefs are done. The Chiefs are done. Whenever that happens, the Chiefs are done. And like I said, I'm not wishing it, even though that is my competitor and my division rival. I'm not wishing bad things on him, but I'm just saying these things is just, man, I'm like, what's going on? And then it's like, okay, well, we could say, oh, well, this team won the championship, but that's only because Pat Mahomes got an Achilles tear and didn't finish the season. Or this team won the championship, or the Chiefs win a championship because they didn't have any competition in AFC to get to the Super Bowl because all the major stars and major players of the competitive teams got ACL tears. And so Pat Mahomes is facing all these backup quarterbacks en route to a Super Bowl appearance. It's just stuff like that. So I'm like, I mean, with Aaron Rodgers being gone, what would have happened with that Jets versus Chiefs matchup on Sunday Night Football this past week? What would happen in the playoff picture, the playoff seeding? Because this year, even with what's already gone down, KC is not the clear head and shoulders best team in the league right now. They're one of the top teams, but I cannot say they are the best team in the league. Their defense is improving, which is scary for them. But they still don't have a running game. Pat Mahomes is great at times. A couple times he has a couple hiccups, but it's not like the Chiefs aren't beatable. They are. The Bengals have proved that. Other teams have proved that. So the Lions at the beginning of this season proved that. Of course, yeah, Travis Kelce wasn't there and whatnot, but still. And then Chris Jones as well. But I mean, these things can happen, but it's like I want, and I'm pretty sure everybody wants, or maybe some people don't care, but I want to beat a team at their best. I don't want to beat a team when all their star players are down. And I get it. You have to face who's in front of you. You don't have any control over that. But in a perfect world, in the sports world, you want to beat people at their best. So there'll be no excuses. Oh, we won a title, but there's an asterisk because we didn't play their franchise quarterback, because that would have made a difference. And they're right. It would have made a difference. So it's like you don't like to see all these players going down, because it's like, okay, now you're winning games because other teams aren't healthy, not because you're better than they are. And don't talk to me about, oh, they're better because they stayed healthy. No, that's not true. Teams can can do everything that they're supposed to do and still get these types of tears in their Achilles and be done for the season. They can have the best conditioning, fully hydrated, whatever you want to say, and they still get injured like this. So that's not even true. But we're moving on here. Going to, like I said, I'm picking the Bills to win in London over the Jaguars. Next, we've got Texans at Falcons. The Texans coming on strong at 2-2. I did predict the Texans win last week. You look at what teams are better and what they're able to do. I mean, just look at the offenses on this one, okay? The Falcons clearly want to do Bijan Robinson running game and want to keep the ball out of Desmond Ritter's hands, even though that's their quarterback. They don't have the confidence in him, and that's clear, and they want to play just running game and defense. That can win you football games, even in this pass-happy league, but if the other team can do the same thing that you can do and they have a better quarterback, that puts them over the top. Passing game, running game, defense. We'll leave out special teams on this one. Passing game, running game, defense. If you want to say the Texans and the Falcons defense is on par, I can give you that. If you want to say that they both have a decent running game that's on par, I can give you that. Maybe you give the edge a little bit more to the Falcons. But then if it comes down to quarterback play because the other team is stuffing the run, who you trusting, Desmond Ridder or CJ Stroud? But just based off of what I've seen, I'm choosing CJ Stroud. Overall, even though the Falcons, it shows that at NFL.com, even though their rushing is 12th in the league, overall their offense is 24th. So they literally are in their dead last in passing. Dead last. 32nd. Like that bar is not even there. You see the little bars there? And it shows where they're at in terms of rankings. Like, there's not even a little bit of a bar. Not even a little tiny smidgen of a bar. The bar gone. It's gone. 32nd in passing. I get it. Somebody's got to be 32nd in passing. I get it, but I don't see how you're going to win football games in this pass-happy league with not a little bit of passing. Remember, I said balance wins championships. Not defense, not just offense and running game. Balance. You can win football games with just running game and defense and almost no passing, but you're not going to win a lot of games. You're not going to win enough games to get you into the playoffs anymore. And so with the Texans, as long as CJ Stroud stays healthy, and the Texans are 26 in rushing, but overall their offense is ranked 12th. Their defense is ranked 13th. The Falcons' defense is ranked 7th. I see the defense of the Falcons being on the field way too long, and then they have to throw the ball because they have to play catch up, and that plays right into the Texans' hands. A 13th ranked defense of the Texans versus a 32nd passing offense of the Falcons. You know who's winning that. So I'm picking the Texans over the Falcons. Next, we're moving right along to the Panthers and the Lions. I said it. I told you. I'm not a Lions fan, but I told you what was going to happen this year. I told you. Go back to my other videos. Go ahead and watch those other videos. It'd be great for the channel. Told you what was going to happen at the beginning of the season. I told you the Lions were going to beat the Chiefs. I told you they were going to be good. They should be 4-0, in my opinion, because even though I like Geno Smith and they won overtime shootout, I still believe that the Lions are technically a better team than the Seahawks overall. But they lost that one, and other than that, that's the Lions' only loss this season. So, yeah, clearly you can see right now, because of the quarterback situation in the NFC North, they are the best team, and they should win the division. And that's, to me, that's happy to see. Like I said, I'm not a Lions fan, but it's nice to see somebody new rising up. It's nice to see somebody new. Don't take it for granted, because your division rivals can come up and beat you and upset you at any time. But they are the better team. They have the best quarterback in the division. Jared Goff is clearly better than Kirk Cousins. He's better than Jordan Love. He already proved that. And of course, he is better than, it escapes me. Lions, Packers, Vikings, and, the Bears, of course. Yes, better than Justin Fields. I don't know why that was just, But yeah, he's the best quarterback in that division. And now they're going up against a struggling, budding Panthers team who is trying to find their way. It just seems like the Panthers are just having a really tough time getting their quarterback going. I get that they've got Thielen. They've got Thielen at wide receiver, but, Thielen is past his prime, and I just don't know that that's enough for Bryce Young, Thielen, and then DJ Shark. I thought that combo would have done good for him, but I mean, I guess you could say he doesn't really have a true number one, because if DJ Shark was the number one wide receiver, which I thought he was emerging as in Jacksonville, they wouldn't have got rid of him. So, yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have a true number one. No real true tight end who's like a security blanket for him. They just haven't in my opinion, put the right weapons around him. And then of course, the offensive line as well has got to be on par, and that's not up to speed for him. So he's having a tough time, even as good as he could possibly be. He doesn't have any help, and if he's running for his life, there's just no way that they can do anything. So yeah, this is, you never want to underestimate anybody, but there's no way, absolutely no way, as good as the Lions are. And I'm happy, like I said, for the Lions in terms of being down for so long and now being this good. And like I said, I saw it happening 2 years ago and even last year with the Detroit Lions with Jared Goff. He has those boys playing. He has an offense playing. All they had to do is get the defense together. The defense is getting better, led by Aiden Hutchinson, and the Lions are a force now. The Lions should be hosting. You go from not even being in the playoffs for how many years, and then you go all the way to just hosting a playoff game. Most people think it's a gradual increase. Okay, they're going to get up there and maybe they'll scratch in a playoff spot, and they're definitely going to be on the road. They'll be a 7th, a 6th, or at best a 5th seed. They should be a 4th seed at the very least, hosting a playoff game. Man, that's going to be great. That's going to be great for the city of Detroit. Especially for a certain guy that I know that is a Detroit native and loves the Detroit Pistons and just doesn't care anything about football because the Detroit Lions have been so bad for so long. I wonder what he's got to say now. Maybe he's not even into football. But nonetheless, Lions over Panthers. Next, we have Titans at Colts. Really surprised that both these teams are 2-2. I thought the Colts would be worse than 2-2. I thought the Titans would be better than 2-2, really. But nonetheless, they are both 2-2. I love the heart and the fire and the passion of Anthony Richardson, because he got a lot of flack for him being a big athletic quarterback, but being talked about as not having the skill set to be a successful quarterback. They were like, yeah, he's a freakish athlete, but aside from that, he's not really that good. They were surprised that he got picked that high. I am surprised personally that the Colts went with the black quarterback. I really am. Yes, they had picked up a backup quarterback temporarily as their starting quarterback, but we knew that wasn't going to work out. We knew that wasn't going to be their top pick. But nonetheless, they are doing good. Like I said, he is the new guy there, and they've got to rally around him. I do believe in Pittman as a wide receiver, but other than that, I don't see the Colts having that much. But their defense comes to play every week. And the Titans are not necessarily a high-scoring football team, if you will. It's basically Derrick Henry or bust still. I get D-Hop is there. I get it. He's still a good wide receiver. To me, he's not as great as he once was. And then you've got Ryan Tannehill there, who I don't wish him, with his attitude and his mindset, I don't wish him any type of success. I want Malik Willis in there throwing the football, and they play off of that and they move forward with Malik Willis. But they still want to go with Tannehill. I get it. The contract, they're paying him the money. You don't want money sitting on the field. Sitting on the sideline. You want the money playing for you on the field, or at least trade the person away and get rid of the contract. So that's why, to me, Ryan Tannehill is still the starting quarterback. But with that being said, it really comes down to, if both defenses play well, it really comes down to, I think, Derrick Henry for the Titans offense, and then the Colts offense is whatever Anthony Richardson can pull out of the hat. My heart says Anthony Richardson, but my head says Derrick Henry. So that's tough. Let's Flip a coin, imaginary, bam. Picking the Colts. I'm picking the Colts because they're at home. Colts at home, rally, play hard, they eke out a win. Neither one of these teams has the power, in my opinion, to blow the other out. But I'll pick the Colts to win a tough, low-scoring battle, maybe at most in the early 20s as far as scoring. But I haven't seen enough from the Titans to make me think that, okay, they're clearly playing a lot less mistakes in their football and offense, and that the defense can. I mean, I'm pretty sure the defense will play well, but the Colts can hang with the Ravens, and then the Colts can hang with other teams and barely lose. I don't see why they can't hang with the Titans and then eke out a win. And again, if the Titans can't run Derrick Henry, if they can't do that, it just seems like they're just nullified. It really seems like that. So I don't have enough faith in them to all of a sudden just think that if it's put in Ryan Tannehill's hands that they're going to do better. I mean, they're ranked 28th in passing. The Titans are ranked 28th in passing while the Colts are ranked 20th. And I get it, because Anthony Richardson doesn't have as many weapons around him, reliable weapons. He's going to have to pass more, but they are 14th in rushing. He has something to do with that, of course. But Ryan Tannehill, as good as a lot of media has talked about Ryan Tannehill, what he should be, the Titans' passing attack should not be 28th. If Ryan Tannehill was as good as the talking heads say that he is. Even talking about he should be traded to the Jets, and he should be the Jets quarterback, and he should, first of all, why would the Titans help the Jets in their own conference? Secondly, to me, I get Zach Wilson is bad, but to me, Ryan Tannehill is just kind of like, well, I mean, unless you get a draft pick in the future draft to go along with acquiring Ryan Tannehill, I don't see how getting Ryan Tannehill is a win. Because eventually you're going to have Aaron Rodgers back as your starting quarterback. And so just to get a fill-in temporarily, you know how Ryan Tannehill is about not wanting to help Malik Willis. What makes you think he's going to be happy being a backup to Aaron Rodgers once Aaron Rodgers gets back in the fold? It doesn't make sense. But again, picking the Colts over the Titans. Reload. Once again, appreciate everybody for tuning in. This is Scout Team Sports. I am your host, DeValiant. We're live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. We got college football going on right now. It's always a good day with college football on a Saturday, as well as the NFL, which we're predicting for tomorrow. And next we have Giants at Dolphins. Dolphins with a bad loss to their division rival Bills. Not surprised, but surprised by how much they lost by 20 points. So they get back on the grind here. Daniel Jones and company. The Giants dug their own grave and they deserve it. If Saquon Barkley say, oh, well, he's hurt again, that's why they're not paying him. Well, guess what? If I was treated like Saquon, I would be hurt too. Now, you can read into that what you want. But why am I going to put my body on the line for a team that really doesn't want me? So, if I don't get it. I would just sit out. And yeah, I could pay the fines, whatever. And maybe that doesn't look good for me in the future, but okay. But Saquon in there is much better for the Giants than when he's not in there. You're paying all this money to Daniel Jones. You dug your own grave, Giants. So you go ahead and sleep in it. You got Darren Waller. You thought you were getting some. Oh, we'll get him a number one target. And Daniel Jones would be just like Pat Mahomes with Travis Kelce, and everything would be fine. First of all, Darren Waller can't even stay healthy that much. I should know as a Raider fan. So what made you think this was going to be like a Pat Mahomes, Travis Kelce thing? That's what they were doing. That's why they did it. That's why they brought over Darren Waller. He had just signed just renewed his contract with the Raiders in his last season, during mid-season with the Raiders, and he gets that contract transferred over with a new team with the Giants. What makes you think that dude's going to play hard and stay healthy if he wouldn't be able to do it with the Raiders? And now he's even the number one wide receiver there. They don't have a wide receiver better than him as a receiving tight end. So he's the number one guy in the passing game. And they're still bad. because you can't do it without Saquon Barkley. You just can't. You're not built like that. Yeah, easy win for the Dolphins. Not much to say. Dolphins get back on into the win column and prove to 4-1. Next, you got Saints at Patriots. Now, this is tricky because Derek Carr is shaky. Derek Carr is day-to-day. Not sure if he's going to play. Alvin Kamara's back, but he's shaky, having all that time off. He got to get back in the groove. The Patriots are just so bad on offense. But if the Patriots can keep this team to a minimal and Mac Jones doesn't screw it up himself, I think the Patriots can win this game. But I'm not betting against that. I'm just, the Saints will probably just win just because Mac Jones is so horrible. All the Saints have to do is get maybe a pick six and a couple field goals, and they'll win this game. Derek Carr ain't even got to play that well. And that's not really saying much at all because Derek Carr, to me, has not looked good at all since he's been the Saints quarterback. And I was like, okay, Derek Carr is easily the best quarterback in that division. Yeah, I know he lost to Baker Mayfield last year when it was the Raiders versus Rams. But I thought, the longer body of work, Derek Carr has proven to be more consistent. Derek Carr is not looking like the best quarterback in that division at all. And if he's not playing well and you expect that offense to produce more than 14 points, it's just not happening. It's just not happening. I mean, I should know because of what he did with the Raiders. There were games where, the Raiders faced the Saints last year and got blanked 24-0. That was the Saints defense whooping Derek Carr's behind. Now he's their quarterback. What makes you think this is going to be any different, New Orleans Saints? Hey, go ahead, fine, do what you do. But unless Derek Carr has some type of resurgence back to when he was at his MVP season before he got his first major injury with the Raiders, you're not getting something that's that much better. You're just getting somebody who maybe might not turn the ball over as much, maybe. But there's been years where he was so bad, fumbling the ball and losing the ball too, that it was pathetic. And that was the year they actually went to the playoffs with an interim head coach. Nonetheless, I will pick the Saints over the Patriots because Mac Jones is just not right in the head. Next, we got Ravens at Steelers. I get that it's always shaky with this division because even if a team is clearly bad when it comes to these division rivalry games, the other team can still rise up and possibly beat the other team. This time I don't see it happening because Kenny Pickett is expected to play coming off the injury, but with that being said, he's not going to be 100%. If you're not going to be 100% and you're going up against the Ravens, even though the Ravens are not at full power because Odell Beckham is kind of hurt, but Zay Flowers is coming on real strong. Lamar Jackson will his team to win, I believe, even if it's a low scoring. I don't see this being high scoring at all. This is probably going to be under 20 points. But I'm going to barely pick the Ravens to win, even if it's like 18-17 or something like that. I will pick the Ravens to win just because I don't think Kenny Pickett is ready for this game, even though he's going to play. Next, you've got Bengals at Cardinals. Didn't see this one coming as far as I was like, okay, the Bengals are definitely winning last week, and they'll be 2-2. They started 0-2 last year. Could just be a thing for them. And now they're going to get off the schneid and they're going to get back into it. But, yeah, it's with Joe Burrow and his calf injury and him still playing on it, I don't see, if they can see that this is clearly a problem, why not just bench him right now? Bench him now, let him heal for a couple of weeks. Let him come back after whenever your bye week is, and then let him loose. You have to let him heal. You don't let him heal. You think, oh, he can play injured. Well, obviously it's not working out. But y'all do you. Y'all do you, Bengals. That's coaching. That's management. And then he just get his contract, whatnot. So you got him. He ain't going nowhere. Why are we playing him hurt? You're gonna detriment the rest of your franchise for not just this year, but possibly next year. If something major happens, you see what happened with Kevin Durant. You see what happened with his calf. You see what happened with his Achilles. Everybody saw that on national television, on replay. Same thing could easily happen in football. Even if you say it's not the same injury, those things are connected. The leg, the Achilles, and the calf are connected. If he has something catastrophic like what happened to Kevin Durant when he came back too early, now you're not just done for this season, you're done for next season too. Let him heal. Let him heal. And then maybe you could scratch out a playoff berth on a late push later on in the season. I don't get it. They don't do the right thing by these guys. And it's like, if you're the coaches and you're running the show, you should be making the decisions, even because you know the players most of the time are not going to make the best decision because they're competitors and they want to play. And they want to be there for their teammates and they're getting paid and they want to be in the show. They're the starting quarterback for a reason. I get it. But sometimes you got to make the best decision for them and best decision for the team. So until they get out of this schneid, I mean, the Cardinals, even though they're not that good, they play hard. They play hard. So I got to respect that. I just don't see, to me, if I'm worried about where Joe Burrow's head is and he's not sure about his calf and he's not playing well, it's hard for me to pick the Bengals right now. So I got to go with the Cardinals just because they're at home. Josh Dobbs is somewhat competent of a player as a quarterback. He's doing the best that he can with what he's got. James Conner is, to me, a good, not great in any means, but a good running back. So I'm going to pick the Cardinals to barely win this game. I'm picking the Cardinals to eke out a win here. Next, we've got a tough one for the undefeated Eagles coming in facing the Rams. This one will be a low-scoring game. I don't see either team scoring more than 20 points probably in this one. It's going to be a low-scoring, knockdown, drag-out fight. That's just how the Eagles play when they play tough defensive teams. And then the Rams themselves, I'm not sure if they have enough offensive firepower. I don't trust the whole Cooper Kupp thing coming back just yet. Even if he does, I think he'll be on a pitch count. He'll be on a pitch count in terms of how many reps, how many plays he gets in. So if he's not back really at full strength, I'm not really counting him as a factor. But I will pick the Eagles to barely win this game as well, because even if it's a low-scoring defensive battle, I think that they keep the Rams' defense out on the field long enough to tire them out to where they barely edge a win. And so picking the Eagles over the Rams. Next, you got 1-3 Jets against 1-3 Broncos. And as much as they're trying to hype this thing up with, what Sean Payton said about Nathaniel Hackett, what tipped this in the scales of being a hot item, ticket, if you will, was Aaron Rodgers' response, keeping his favorite coach's name out of his mouth. And Aaron Rodgers is not there. Aaron Rodgers is not playing. Yeah, I hope he's at the game, but he's not playing. So it doesn't have the same mystique, because I was looking for the Jets to burn a hole in Denver. Like, I was looking for them to torch Denver. I was looking for Aaron Rodgers to torch the Broncos. And even if the Jets could somehow possibly win this game, the mystique of the preheat to this possible confrontation has been taken out because Aaron Rodgers is injured. So with that being said, if both teams are as bad as they have looked at 1-3, I got to go with the Broncos, just because even sometimes, a lot of times, Russell Wilson's head seems like it's somewhere else, and he's just not the Russell Wilson of old. He's still better than Zach Wilson, and that's really bad to say. But I get it, Zach Wilson played good against the Chiefs defense, but like I said, the Chiefs defense is improving, but I know the Chiefs defense, and they're not that great at all. They've won their Super Bowls because of Pat Mahomes and the offense and getting by with other people's mistakes, like what Jalen Hurts did in the Super Bowl. That was not because the defense forced the turnover. So yeah, picking the Broncos, unfortunately. Picking the Broncos to beat the Jets. Like I said, Sean Payton talks his trash, and now he's going to look like he's so great because he said what he said about Hackett. He's like, oh, Aaron Rodgers in the game, but it's not in the game, but Hackett's still coaching the offense. So, you know, what I said as far as talking trash was okay, and we win, and yeah, we're better than they are, and I could definitely see them being scheduled to play each other next year when Aaron Rodgers is healthy, because this is not going away, in my opinion. At least in Aaron Rodgers' mind. He's going to be hoping that they face the Broncos next year, and he is going to, I wouldn't be surprised if even Aaron Rodgers not playing in this game wasn't talking trash some way, somehow, but right before or right after the game. So, he ain't taking that from Sean Payton. And you know Sean Payton's so arrogant, he ain't backing down for nobody either. It don't matter how many times he apologized. He'll come up and say he'll apologize, and then he'll come up and talk trash again. So I ain't buying no apology from Sean Payton. But picking the Broncos by default over the Jets. Next, you got Chiefs at Vikings. Not really much to say there. Chiefs on the road, not a big deal. Chiefs, as long as they stay healthy, beat the Vikings. They're better in almost every way. Defenses are probably a little more on par than I would say most of anything else, but easy win for the Chiefs over the Vikings. Then you get to your Sunday night football matchup. 3-1 Cowboys at 4-0 Niners. A lot has been talked about when it comes to this game. What I see and what I hear most of the time is interviews from the Cowboys players. I don't hardly see any talk from the talking media heads from the 49ers players. So it's Cowboys, and not necessarily that they're trash talking, but they're doing all the talking, and the Niners aren't talking. I've seen Dak Prescott talk. I've seen Micah Parsons talk. You know Jerry Jones is going to talk. You know, I haven't heard anything from the Niners. Niners staying quiet. They know they're the better team. Just by way of the quarterback, and yes, it's sad to say that Brock Purdy is better than Dak Prescott. That's really sad to say, because Dak has been there longer, he's had more experience, he's got his hip thrust pregame thing, and it just, why? Until you prove to me that you are better than what you did the last couple times, I cannot trust you. You can always turn over a new leaf. You can always turn over a new leaf at any time. But until you actually turn over that new leaf, I don't have any more confidence in you than I did the last time I did. I don't. So only because, even in hot pressure cooker situations, because Brock Purdy faced this Cowboys defense in the playoffs last year. And yeah, they played well against him, but Dak played even worse against the 49ers defense. So until Dak can show me otherwise, when it comes to these tough games against other playoff and championship contenders, I'm not picking the Cowboys. Dak has to show me that he can handle this type of situation, because it's not going away. You faced him the last 2 times in the playoffs. You're facing him now. You're probably going to face him again in the playoffs. You need to show me that you can handle this. And until you show me that, I'm not picking you, especially when you're the quarterback of this team that's supposed to be so good, which they are. And then on top of that, you throw in not having Treylon Diggs there. That's just unfortunate. The Cowboys, hear me out. I'm not wishing anything on I'm not wishing anything on anybody. But the Cowboys would be better off if Dak Prescott was injured and out for the season than if Trayvon Diggs was. If Trayvon Diggs was fully healthy and Dak Prescott got injured for the season, the Cowboys would be better off, even with a backup quarterback. And we all know who's that backup quarterback right now. And you say, well, he can't stay healthy either. Yeah, probably so. But even if you throw in Cooper Rush, you saw what they did with Cooper Rush last year when Dak Prescott got hurt. It's almost like you can plug in anybody in there right now, and as long as they're halfway decent, the Cowboys will be fine. So big money Dak, it's time to put up. But until you do, I'm not picking you. 49ers over Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, and your Monday Night Football matchup. I don't know why this is here, but my team. The Raiders, Jimmy is supposed to be back, and maybe he'll play, maybe he won't. And if you can't tell, I'm delirious when it comes to my day. I really hate it for Devontae. I really hate it for Devontae. It's almost like at this point, even with Aaron Rodgers gone, Devontae would be better off with Jordan Love right now. He really would be. It was supposed to be better with Derek Carr, and he got his numbers, but Derek Carr overall didn't play well. I get that Derek Carr wasn't the main problem, and they got rid of him. But he was a problem, especially when it came to turnovers. And he was happy with the head coaching and GM change, so he obviously embraced it. And you could say, well, he's just saying what he wants, what he has to say. But this is I every time the Raiders get a good wide receiver, go back to Randy Moss. We have a good receiver, but then the quarterback is just not playing good enough. I mean, Randy Moss had Kerry Collins throwing him the football. And even Warren Sapp was saying practice, he's not throwing him the football because he's not open. Like, what are you talking about? It's Randy Moss. If he doesn't catch it, it's going to be incomplete. He ain't letting nobody just pick him off on a jump ball. And now it's like we're just wasting Devontae Adams. I hate it. I really do. Because Devontae deserves, he's earned to compete for a Super Bowl, and he's on his favorite team. I grew up in not far away from where he grew up in East Palo Alto. So he's a Raider fan through and through, but he also wants to win a championship. And he was much closer in Green Bay than he's ever been with the Raiders. And yeah, Aaron Rodgers not there anymore, but like I said, Jordan Love is showing more consistency than Jimmy G as far as being healthy and being available. And Jordan Love has shown he can be competent. He's not that good, but he can be competent. And the Raiders are just, Josh Jacobs with the holdout. He hasn't looked good since he's been back from the holdout and signing a one-year contract, but he missed the time. He missed reps. I'm glad that he's not injured yet, but he's definitely not playing like the Josh Jacobs of old. The O-line can't run block. Your only win is a 1-point win over the Broncos. That's it. Picking the Packers to win on the road on Monday Night Football. Raiders with their second home game televised, going 0-2 at home. Yeah, I can tell I'm not happy. But that will conclude our live stream here. Scout Team Sports. I am your host of value. I'm going to give it to you the real every time, whether it's good or bad for me, as long as you get your sports fix, and so do I. I appreciate each and every one of my subscribers. Please continue to like, share, and subscribe as we continue to grow this channel and become our own network, become our own brand here. We'll be back next Saturday for the next live stream, 10 a.m. Pacific time every Saturday, unless there's some type of something that I got to do for work or for personal reasons. I will let you know ahead of time. Tune into the midweek scramble every Wednesday night and Thursday morning, whatever you want to catch it. Once again, this is The Valiant with Scout Team Sports. We'll see you next week.